all connected. And I'm dreaming of a learning revolution where the children are listening to music that puts them in an optimal learning state, makes them dance while they're building their robotic creations. And the lyrics are telling them about the things they need to learn and how they need to think while this is happening. Still dreaming about that learning revolution. It's a revolution that is for all of our children. Mine, yours, your neighbors, all of the children of Jamaica, regardless of their background, of their class, of their creed. The revolution focuses on the children. It empowers the children. And today I want to talk about 3 aspects of this learning revolution. But first, I want you to think of the littlest children. Think of the youngest children that you know. I think of my nieces. And I think of my son, who would watch TV and build and draw and, you know, make up stories. And I see 2 little girls dancing and playing pretend, but also building. And I could add more things to this list. It's definitely not exhaustive. But this is how children start off. Through their early years of education, of schooling, we sing to them. And they play, and they explore, and they learn. And as we progress, there comes a teacher in front of them, standing in front of a board, a textbook, and what starts to happen is that the lens through which we look at our children changes. It becomes a score on a test, a grade on an exam. It becomes having to achieve a certain mark in order to get to the next stage. It becomes their sort of measure of worth, depending on how well or not they've done on a particular test. And at each stage, what we see happening is that those innate talents and abilities that we saw in them when they were young, and that they playfully developed on their own they become taken away by our schooling system that looks at them more through that lens than as these naturally talented, boundless bodies of imagination and potential. Very soon my nieces are going to have a grade assigned to them for something. And they're going to begin to think about themselves in relation to that grade. A teacher recently told me that, you know, this boy was drawing too many doodles in his book. And the boy's response was, "But miss, I'm an artist." Her response was, "You need to rub those up." So again, suppressing the flames. Suppressing the flames. And I was thinking, well, maybe one day you might want an autograph beside one of those doodles. The learning revolution looks through this lens and more. And especially in a country like Jamaica. By the way, the first 3, you probably heard of at MIT, okay? These bottom 3, they're for Jamaica, right? Because we are those 3 and these 3 and more, right? In this learning revolution, we are thinking about learning through three important aspects. Learning by doing. What does that mean? That means that a child is engaged in an activity that allows them to playfully explore concepts, playfully engage in concepts, and in our picture you will see, let's call her Jada K. 9 years old, lives in Jonestown. She's playing a game, filling in the pieces to a puzzle that is allowing her to learn about logic, visual spatial ability. She's learning to reason. And this is all happening long before somebody turns to her and says, "But use your logic, no man. You need to be a logical person." But had she not been exposed to something like this, or not continually exposed to activities like this, where would she have gotten the chance? Directly, deliberately. So learning by doing things that allow you to explore concepts, and not just see them in a textbook or see them on a board, but actively, hands-on, getting that chance to learn things at your own pace, in your own way, before we throw jargon and give, you know, the sort of curriculum expectations of our children. Learning by making. So, all right, what's the difference, right? Because it's doing, making. Right, so learning by making. This is looking not just at doing something, but you're doing something where you create. So Jada K was doing a puzzle. She didn't make the puzzle. And doing something where you make something that's also meaningful to you. In a sense, when you actually have an experience to make something that has meaning to you, that engages your senses, your hands, it goes deep, deep into the subsoil of your mind. How many times are we giving our children the chance to get this kind of experience? And how many times at school are they getting it, or you get it accidentally? Let's call her Mazzy. 11 years old, and she's made a drumming monkey. She's made and programmed a drumming monkey. She's made a robotic creation. She's put it together, following some steps, and she's programmed it to have a rhythm, to beat the drum and make a sound based on instructions she has given to her robotic creation. Deep into the subsoil of your mind. You thought I was going to say learning by something, right? No. Because it's much more than learning with music, by music, with music in the background. It is about empowering our musical youth. There's no question in your mind as to whether our children love music. It may not be the music of the parents or the grandparents. You might be just sounding boogie, 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 you know? But it is what they love. It is their expression. It is how they identify themselves. And that music is sinking into their subconscious. But they love it. Let us hear from Quincy. That's his own alias. Quincy and the royal family. He has 2 members of his team. We're a part of a digital music creation workshop for 3 months. 1 day a week after school. And they got a chance to replace the beating of the desks to make the rhythm. They got a chance to replace that with actually using the computer to make their own beats.
It's just a love for music, because from I was a baby, I just love music. And from I love music, I go to the extreme for the music. Yeah. Down in there, down in there, down in there. Down in the ghetto, find out the blood and down in the ghetto. Yes, people don't know down in the ghetto. We're ugly dance and lumpy and children, but you have to get more people down in the ghetto. No part dies, no part baby in the ghetto. Politicians lying in the ear for the ghetto. People are dying, make up a fall of fame and kill to make them in the ghetto. When will the power say, so we live in peace and love. Increase in the ghetto. Children in the beach, place in Charlie City. Sorrows in the ghetto. Some of them cry, some lie, some live, some die, have no joy price in the ghetto. Some of them fall.
The musical youth. You don't hear them, you don't see them. What happens when you take a musical youth, someone who enjoys music, who has a certain ability to make music, to write lyrics, and then you direct that talent towards making something that is relevant to what they have to learn in school? What happens? Well, meet Droops. Again, his alias. Tell you about Droops now. Droops was repeating 10th grade or 5th form. Very well spoken, and very well spoken when he was giving excuses about why he didn't do his math homework, which, you know, grew old quickly. But the other part of the conversation was that he wanted to be a DJ. That's what he loved. He loved music, and he wanted to be a DJ or a rapper. He wanted to use his talent in that way. And, you know, after about the 5th time of this, well, Mr. Hall, well, let me tell you, I was unable to do my homework because, and such eloquence. I said, you know what? Here's a handout from an IT course that this guy is not a part of. And I threw it at him and said, you want to be a DJ? Take that and make me a song. Since you think you're a DJ and you want to do this and, you know, this is your thing, then prove it to me. 3 days later.
Well, this is a song of computer terms. You gotta catch this because it's easy to learn terms of testing and running a program easy as 1, 2, 3, so you will understand. Let's begin with terms and then definition. There are things that should be brought to your attention without further ado. This song will teach you things you need to remember. So let us go through. So score the program is written in high-level or assembly languages. That's easy as remembering the types of things that you eat in your sandwiches. A machine code program is called an object code. Just memorize this tune while walking on the road. There are programs transfer from secondary storage to primary memory. This is called loading, which can be permanent or temporary. Translating high-level language to machine codes, that's the job of the compiler. When that program's compiled, it doesn't have to repeat. So please remember, because why, yo, this is a song of computer terms. You gotta catch this because it's easy to learn terms of testing and running a program easy as 1, 2, 3, so you will understand why. This is a song of computer terms. You gotta catch this because it's easy to learn terms of testing and running a program easy as 1, 2, 3, so you will understand.
first of the three big ideas of the learning revolution. Is this possible? Well, let's look at some facts. Jamaican Music News website, dancehall.mobi, has 140 rhythms created from the start of the year. That means we're already producing over 1,000 songs. Already doing that. And you know, I have to bring in the label of developing country, because more times than not, we are told that here's the first world technology that's going to solve the problem for the masses, the bottom of the pyramid. But let me tell you that technology is not just a fixed device. It's not just the iPod and the iPad. It's also a process, which they speak of as soft technology. It's just a process of doing things. It's a way of doing things. We are a musical country, probably the musical-est country, right? And we have an army of musical youth, an army of producers, an army of songwriters, performers of lyrics, DJs, whatever we want to call them, in all types of the way we express our music. 1,000 songs, just imagine, they would start singing it to each other. It don't take $1 of foreign investment, so start that one. 10,000 puzzles. Well, is it doable? 30 weeks of school, that's a conservative, yeah? I've taken on the holidays, so 30 weeks, all right? If you do 10 a day, and then you look at the lifetime of your school for 10, 12 years, why we can't do it? Why we can't do it? Where children are doing things that teach them logic and reasoning and reverse engineering and systematic thinking and problem solving. Why we can't do it? Well, this one has the biggest number. Why? Because we have over 1 million children and youth between the ages of, say, 5 and 24. What happens when we unleash that activity on them? What happens? It changes their thinking. I'm not suggesting everybody's going to get into robotics, become a robotics scientist. No. The activity goes deep into the subsoil of your mind. Changes your thinking, changes your view of the world. We need to wake up. We need to wake up and start dreaming, because the children are waiting. Thank you.